Good afternoon. In this video we are going to discuss a topic in science. So before we discuss, let us see what things can flow. So a question is, what are the things that can flow? Now of course, if you have a rock will not flow. It will get pushed, but it will not flow. On the other hand, if you have water, and if this is a tank full of water and you make a hole over here, then the water will leak out. So the water will leak and it will flow. Likewise, if you have a box full of gas and you make a hole, then the gas will leak out. The balloon, when made a hole, or when you open this knot over here, the gas will come out from this opening. So gas flows, liquid also flows, but solid doesn't flow, rock doesn't flow. So this chapter is about things that can flow, which are called fluids. Fluids are things which can flow. And what are the things that can flow? Mainly two things: liquids and gases. So how do things flow? What causes them to flow? What are the properties of fluids, and so on, is going to be the subject matter of our topic today. So the name of the topic is fluids. So let us start. So here we'll be discussing this couple of things in our chapter, and first is pressure, then you have hydraulic press, then you have pressure and depth, and so on. So we will try to do as many concepts as possible. First thing we talk about is pressure. Pressure is the magnitude of the normal force acting per unit area. So you all know what is force and area. So if you apply force on an area, you are applying pressure. So pressure is defined. This is the definition of pressure. Pressure is force upon area. The unit is Newton per meter square. There are three types of pressure gauges. So we are going to discuss each of them. So gauges, in the sense, how pressure can be measured. So you have a U tube, then a manometer, and other ways, vacuum chamber, and other ways to measure the pressure. Another parameter is called absolute pressure. Absolute pressure is the gauge pressure or gauge pressure, it depends on how you pronounce it, and the atmospheric pressure. So atmospheric pressure plus the gauge pressure gives you absolute pressure. Let me explain this a bit. So if you have a beaker of water, for example, this is a beaker and this is water. Now in this water, if I want the pressure over here at point A, then how should we know the pressure? From the definition, pressure is force upon area. So force upon area at this tiny little dot can be found. So the pressure, which turns out to be H rho g, as we will see, but at this point the pressure is due to this column of water above the point. So you see this column of water above the point. So this all water puts a pressure on this point. But above this column of water you have a column of air also. The air, be it very less, has some weight. So you have air, that is to say atmosphere. Atmosphere. So because you have atmosphere, there is some pressure already which is applied from up, and this is pressure atmosphere, ATM, denoted by ATM. ATM for atmosphere. So this pressure adds up to this pressure. So there is not only pressure because of the water column, there is also pressure because of the air column. So pressure of due to water column plus the pressure due to the air column gives you the total pressure. So the pressure at point A is, this is called P gauge by the way. P gauge plus P atmosphere, and that is where this equation comes from, which we see over here. P absolute is equal to P gauge plus P atmosphere. Now the atmospheric pressure turns out to be 101.325 kilopascal. Or in other words, 101.325 Pascal atmospheric pressure. This is the atmospheric pressure. So at the sea level, so at near the ground, the atmospheric pressure is this much. Moving on. Now let us discuss a small example before we move ahead to discuss the properties of pressure in a fluid. The weight of a 2400 kg car is supported equally by its 4 tires. The gauge pressure of the air in the tires is 28 psi. Find the area of each tire that is in contact with the ground. This can be solved using the definition of pressure. We had pressure is equal to force upon area, and therefore area is equal to force upon pressure. So if you apply this formula, plug in the values, you get a number 21.4 inches square. So this was a small example, numerical example. Now let us see the properties of pressure in a fluid. The forces a fluid at rest exerts on the walls of its container and vice versa always act perpendicular to the walls. So when we discuss, when we say that force is applied on a unit area, the force is applied perpendicular to the walls. We do not take into account any force other than this force. So the force only which is perpendicular to the area is taken into account. An external pressure exerted on a fluid is transmitted uniformly throughout the volume of the fluid. Now this is important. So if you apply a pressure to any part of the fluid, then this pressure is transmitted uniformly throughout the volume of the fluid. So we are going to see an application of this as well. The pressure on a small surface in a fluid is the same regardless of the orientation of the surface. So the orientation of the surface doesn't matter, because as we just said, the pressure is defined as the perpendicular force per unit area. So when you say the force is perpendicular to the area, we don't, it doesn't matter what the orientation of the surface is. So these are the properties of pressure. Variation of atmospheric pressure. So as the altitude decreases, the pressure increases. As altitude increases, the pressure increases. So sorry, as the altitude increases, the pressure decreases. As the altitude is less, the pressure is more. In other words, let me draw a diagram. If this is the ground, this is the earth, and this is the sky. Near the ground, the atmospheric pressure is the largest. And as you go up, it becomes smaller. So as you go up and up and up, the atmospheric pressure diminishes. It becomes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So as you go up, and when you enter space, the atmospheric pressure becomes zero, because there is no atmosphere at all for there to be any pressure. So the atmospheric pressure becomes zero in space. Now this is a hydraulic press that you see over here, and it is an application of the property we just discussed. Pressure transmits equally in all directions, undiminished. So let us discuss how. So you see below Pascal's principle. An external pressure on a fluid is transmitted uniformly throughout the volume of the fluid. So this is the principle, which is also a property. So let us discuss this in detail. So we have this arrangement over here. So this is a piston, and this is also a piston. And this is water or any other liquid. It can be glycerin, it can be oil, any liquid. This is liquid and this is the piston. So if I apply pressure over here, this piston will go down. At the same time, this piston will go up. So you are pushing down, right? So this liquid transmits or transports the pressure like this, and it pushes the piston up. So if this goes down, this goes up. So this is what we have. So how does this work? According to the Pascal's principle, pressure which is applied over here goes undiminished and appears over here. So if I apply a certain pressure P1 over here, the same amount of pressure will appear over here in the upward direction. So using the principle, what the principle says is this, according to Pascal's principle, P1 is equal to P2. And if we apply the definition for P1, we get F1 by A1, and P2 gives F2 by A2. So I put these two values over here in this equation, and I get F1 by A1 is equal to F2 by A2. So this is what we have. Now what does this equation tell us? This equation tells us a few things. F2 is equal to F1 A2 by A1. So this equation tells us that, or in other words, F1. All right. Let us see, if I apply 100 Newton over here, then how much force appears over here. Let us see how much force appears here. Let us assume that this is 1 meter square area of this piston, and the area of this piston is 2 meter square. So one is double the other. So F2 will be 100 Newton. The force I have applied is 100 Newton. Area A2 is 2 meter. This is 2 meter divided by 1 meter. So this is 200. So I applied 100 Newton over here, and the force which appeared over here is 200 Newton. So the input is 100, output is 200. That is to say, with your finger you can lift an elephant. So with small force you can lift large amount of weight. That is the use of hydraulic press. So in this diagram over here, what it is saying is, you apply a small force, but you lift a large amount of weight. Of course, the trade-off is the displacement. Here the displacement has to be large, and the displacement over here is small, because the work done has to be same. So the trade-off is the distance, of course, but a small force can lift a large weight. That is the benefit or advantage of this hydraulic press. So this mechanism, or this arrangement, is called hydraulic press, and this is an application. So this is an application of Pascal's principle. An external pressure on a fluid is transmitted uniformly throughout the volume of the fluid. Moving on, hydraulic brakes. Now hydraulic brakes also work on the same principle. So how is that a truck driver, with his single foot, he is able to stop the mighty vehicle? It is because of the Pascal's principle. So the pressure because of the foot, small amount of force, is creating large amount of force as an output, and this large amount of force stops the vehicle. That is what we have. So hydraulic brakes is another application. Pressure and depth. So let us discuss this concept of pressure and depth. You have a certain beaker. In the beaker you have some water, and at a certain point you want the pressure to be known. So at a certain point, how much is the pressure is the question. So let us the answer is H rho g. The pressure due to fluid is H rho g, which we will discuss how. We will see how it comes out to be H rho g. So you take a container like this. You take a container, and in the container you have some liquid, and let's say at this point I want to know the pressure. Let this point be Q. At this point I want to know the pressure. So what I do is I consider a hypothetical cylinder whose base is at the center of our point. This is a hypothetical cylinder. Now this cylinder has some weight because this cylinder is totally made up of water, because the liquid is water. So this cylinder is totally made up of water. So the weight of this cylinder acts downwards, and this base applies a force upwards to counter this red arrow, to counter the weight. So to counter the weight, there is an upward force, and also the upward force is justified because the cylinder is not moving anywhere. So if you have only one force, then the cylinder moves down, but the cylinder is not moving down, so you have the upward force as well. So the downward force is weight, which is equal to the upward force, which is the pressure force. So pressure force is pressure into area, the upward force. So see, pressure is equal to force upon area, so force is equal to pressure into area. So pressure force is pressure into area. So this I just said pressure force. Now if you work out this equation, weight is mg, pressure divided by area, I took A to the LHS. So pressure is mg divided by area, which is mass is volume into density upon area, and volume is area into height upon area. Area gets cancelled and you have h rho. So you see what the radius of this hypothetical cylinder is doesn't matter, and it should not matter because it is a hypothetical cylinder. But what does matter is the only height, this height. So at what height, or I can call this as depth also, at what depth my point Q is h multiplied by the density of this medium, which is rho, and acceleration due to gravity, which is present. So if you want to know the pressure at point Q, you will calculate h rho g, and that will give you the pressure. So our final equation is h rho g. So I hope this concept was clear. Towards the end, I would like to give you some evaluation. What is the unit of force? Sorry, what is the unit of pressure? Unit of pressure. The answer is pascals or Newton per meter square. 1 Pascal is how much? So if you have 1 Newton of force divided by 1 meter square of area, so if you apply a force of 1 Newton to an area of 1 meter square, then the pressure that you are applying is 1 Pascal. Now some questions as homework. Define pressure. Write a note on application of any one property of pressure. You can write about the hydraulic press or hydraulic brake. And the last question is difference between absolute pressure and gauge pressure. So this will be the homework. So with this we end this class. I thank you for watching.